Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Ask Alan Anything. I am your host, Alan Bougeois. This show is designed for authors to ask any question about publishing and marketing, whether specific to their books or in general questions, things of that nature. You are welcome to send your emails ahead of time at bourgeoismedia@outlook.com. The email address will appear on the screen at several different times, so feel free to send your questions. We will address them in different shows and go through that. There are two main topics we'll be talking about today. One is an article that came out recently from Ally, which is an organization that supports authors. The creator and founder, Anna Rose, had created this article, and so we'll be talking about the three types of published authors. And really there's kind of four, but three is a good one. And then we'll also talk about attractive marketing for authors, which is a 6-step program that we help fine-tune and develop, and we'll just outline those as well. Let's go ahead and start with the three types of published authors. According to Anna, her aspects are three. One, the self-published author, the indie author, and the authorpreneur. So self-published authors are people who will go ahead and get the book published, most likely on Amazon. But these books are really not designed for large sales. They're more like your family cookbooks or your family historical trees and local history and things of that nature. They have a very limited, small audience. So Amazon is perfect for that type of a program. The authors are not really out there pushing the books for large sales or mass market or anything of that nature. So a self-published author is an appropriate title for those type of people. Number two is the indie author. Now this is the author that wants to slowly develop into a authorpreneur. So they will go into creating a book, whether it be fiction, nonfiction, or whatever, and will work the process of getting the book out there. Let me actually quote from the article. These are the writers who are working to become full-time author publishers. Some arrive at the stage from having produced a book and now wanting to take it further, finding readers, earning money, set up in an author business. Others know before they're formatted a word that this is their ambition. In other words, they know they want to build something out of this. Becoming an indie author is not just about learning and doing the day-to-day labor of editorial and design and social media and author business, or finding the tools and techniques and platforms that allow them to publish their books. Success in this challenging field usually calls for personal growth and a change of mindset. And that is so true. This really describes the majority of the authors that are out there. When they want to write a book, they have a certain vision, a certain concept in mind. Most of them, even including when I first started, it was the idea of getting it published by a traditional publisher, selling millions of books, and living happily ever after, writing more books and stuff. That's the illusion that no longer really exists for most authors. Very few, almost like in the US, that 1% rule applies. It's a very limited amount of people. But in the process of writing their books and learning how to better market and sell themselves, they then become that mind shift, that mind change that is so necessary in order for them to succeed. Now, the third one is called the authorpreneur. Now, the authorpreneur, and I'm reading from the article, are authors succeeding in author business. They have adapted an independent creative growth mindset and embrace the idea that marketing and business, as well as writing, can be creative. They have mastered 3 different sets of skills: writing good books, publishing them well, and running an author business, a significant creative and commercial achievement. And they are consciously applying entrepreneurial skills and mindset and digital tools to making a substantial and ongoing living as an author. This is very true. And there's a lot of other little tidbits that go with this on different types of modules that they would be working in and stuff like this. But this is really true. This is that author that really is so determined to succeed that they have embraced all the options that are available to them. They have determined which ones work best for them and have worked it to the maximum they can. Those are the ones that will become that 1%, not through the traditional publishing way, but through the entrepreneur, independent author's perspective. It's a challenge, it's hard work, but it's creative in its own context, not only in the writing of the books, but how they market. And those are the people that we work a lot with through the Authors Marketing Program, the Authors Marketing Event, and the Texas Authors, and the Beacon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the people that we want to help the most. It's very expensive to be in this field because there's a lot of expenses. And so we want to be able to show them how to do it at a more cost-effective way. But at the same time, through all the things we've talked about in the previous 11 episodes, we want to make sure that authors understand the true cost of publishing so that they can budget, they can set the price of books and the profit margin that is necessary for them to succeed and to pay for all these things. Many authors, especially the indie authors, are not aware of that. So as they're beginning, they begin to get disillusioned on the cost simply because they don't understand all the hidden costs involved. And so when their profit margin is decreasing bit by bit, they get frustrated, they get angry, they don't understand why their sales aren't increasing. And it's simply because they don't have the money necessary to succeed as an entrepreneur. It's a tough road, but it can be done. So for those indie authors and entrepreneurs who are wanting to succeed, my organizations I've created are here to help you in a cost-effective way. So those are the programs that we have available to you for that. So now I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the 6 steps of attraction marketing for authors. You can get a white paper, and I'll have that online, so you can read it in more detail as to what it is and how to access it. So watch on the screen for that long code that access the website. You sign up on our email list and you'll get the white paper for free. Plus you'll also end up getting a whole bunch of other information from us for free throughout the course of, well, as long as I keep doing this. So there are 6 steps. I also want to give credit first off to Brian Final, who created the attraction marketing program, which was originally a 7-step program that was designed for internet business entrepreneurs. He created this a few years ago. He's worked it, he's developed it. It's all his programming in the initial context. What we have done is taken the overall context and concept and fine-tuned it specifically for authors, and cut it down to 6 steps. The 7th one, even though it's a step, it's really not that detailed, but it is designed for the authors to be able to fully understand how to use the program. Again, the white paper has a lot more detail than we'll talk about in this episode, but we will go through a lot of the basics for you. So here are the 6 steps. Brand you. You are the one. That's step number 1. Number 2, define your audience. This is so critical for authors, and we'll definitely get into that. Step 3, understanding your audience's biggest challenge. It's not as simple as you think at times. Step 4, create content that addresses your audience desires. And this does not mean you have to work 7 days a week to constantly come up with fresh and new ideas. There are ways to work with this. Step 5, build a relationship with your audience, which is so important these days. And step 6, embrace multiple income streams. And there's a lot of different options on that as well. And then we'll finally talk about the last step, which is really not a step. It's an everyday aspect that you should have built into your system, your genes, your moral compass, your aspect to succeed. All of that should be built into this last aspect we'll talk about. So let's go into a little detail, and we'll start with step 1, brand you. You are the one. And this is true. Even if you've got only one book, you really want to brand you, because you are going to be the one that represents your book constantly. You're going to be the one that draws in people to you. So if you haven't branded who you are, you're not going to succeed. Yeah, your book will be out there. Yeah, some people will buy it, but not as much because you're not drawing them to who you are and why you wrote this book. And this even applies to those who are in multiple genres, okay? I myself have 10 books published. I have a children's book, I have 2 gay thrillers, 2 spiritual thrillers, 2 very adult books, and then 2 self-help books. So that, as you see, is a wide genre, but it all relates to me. All of those different types of genres are a part of me. Therefore, by branding me as Bougeois Media and Consulting, I am bringing all of that in together under one tree where people can understand that even though they're different genres, they all represent or all relate to who I am. So let's go into a little more detail. You must brand you, not your company or your book. People join people, not companies. And they are looking for leadership, okay? So if you're specifically only in one genre, you want to become the leader in that genre with great books, and people want to know that when John Smith or Joan Smith puts out a book, that it's going to be a great quality book and that it's going to have a lot of information and that the other steps that we'll be talking about relates to it. So they know that John Smith, Joan Smith, Jane Smith, whoever it is going to produce XYZ quality of books, okay? So you definitely want to consider that, okay? That's one of my faults, okay? My spelling and grammar is not always the greatest. It actually lacks in many cases, but it's something that I continually work at. But people know that the information they get from me is going to be of value. It's going to have information that is going to continue to help them grow no matter what stage they are in their writing career. So they know that Bougeois Media, Alan Bougeois, will be constantly creating new ideas, new concepts, new ways to help people grow as an author, an entrepreneur, and they can rely on me for that. So that's part of the branding. They know who I am, or they're learning who I am, and they see what I've done, and they are able to therefore grow and participate in that level. Okay? The only way to become recession-proof and create ultimate financial security in your business is to brand you. And that's true. It doesn't matter what the situation, if people are hurting financially because of a recession, okay, they still know that the quality that you're going to give them, what information you give them, whatever that umbrella that you represent, that they're going to know they're spending their money wisely, and they will spend the money, okay? Whether it's in good times or bad times, they know that you have worked hard to develop something, so they will come and spend the money with you. So that's why you're becoming recession-proof. Even though you may lose a little bit of income because people cannot afford it, the reality is that they know your quality, they know what you have, so they are willing to spend the money on you versus somebody they don't know or somebody who has a lower quality level, okay? So keep that in mind. That's part of the branding you, okay? You need to really understand who you are so that you can properly brand yourself, okay? We're going to just touch upon 3 key aspects of this. People buy products from and join people, not companies, which we talked about. People buy from and do business with people they know, like, and trust, which I've discussed, okay? Number 2, companies come and go, but you are here to stay. As long as you're alive and kicking, your products are going to continue to be going out there. Now, if at any time you decide to retire or you want to set it up in your will for someone else to take over, make sure you've trained them to represent that product, which is that brand, that you, and continue forward with that. So if you should pass away, they know who you are well enough and know your products well enough that they can continue the brand without losing any quality and style, okay? Number 3, branding the company will guarantee you lose customers. And that's true. If I'm only branding one particular thing, okay, a business per se, okay, I will lose business because there will be other businesses that will compete against me. So that's the thing to consider. You're branding yourself. No one can compete against you as a person, okay? So definitely consider how you are presenting yourself, the quality you presented, so that when somebody may offer something similar, it's not you. they can't compete against you because they are not you. Okay, so that's the key issue on that one. Okay, if you brand a company, other companies again are going to be exactly like you or compete against you, and so therefore they're going to, you're going to lose business because of it. Okay, they may offer the exact same thing at a lower quality. We've seen this time and time again. I mean, look at Pepsi, Coke, automobiles. Okay, I mean, how many automobiles are looking exactly the same, even though they're produced by different companies and stuff? How many Cokes are tasting similar because they're being duplicated by other companies? All of those things. Okay, if someone can do the exact same thing cheaper as a business, then yeah, you're going to lose business from that. But they cannot duplicate you. You're the brand. You're that special key, that special oomph that makes it different. And people are drawn to you because they cannot duplicate you. They can duplicate what you might be doing, but they can't duplicate who you are. Okay? So keep that in mind. So let's move on to step number 2, define your audience. Okay? Now, the next step is vital. You need to get crystal clear on who your audience is. Okay? And I've mentioned this before in other programs and sessions that I've done. If you are writing in a mystery genre, okay, you need to know who that audience is. You need to be able to promote or to create everything that relates to that genre, the book cover, the style of writing, the layout of the formats, the book designs, your marketing programs, all have to relate to who that customer is, okay? You cannot do that. You cannot take a genre, say that is romance, and use it for mystery, okay? If you're going after using the romance concepts and designs and layouts and stuff, you're going after that audience. Therefore, your mystery audience is not going to be appealing or wanting to know anything about it because they see romance and that turns them off. That's not what they're into. So you've got to understand who your audience is, no matter what you're publishing. An example, Author's Revolution, one of my books, that is specifically for authors who want to succeed. So that's my audience. My audience is not really for the self-published authors. My audience is not for the readers. My audience is for the authors who want to succeed. So by knowing who my audience is, I can then market and approach and create and give information to that audience. I can then fulfill their desire, which we'll talk about in just a moment, okay? So who do you serve? What do you want to be able to target? What is that audience? You have to fully understand it. And if you're not sure, then go into bookstores or go online and look at the competition in your genre. How are they doing things? How are the cover setups? We don't want you to duplicate that specifically detail for detail, but the general concept is what you're looking at. I had a phone conversation earlier today with somebody who has written a children's book, and she really wasn't quite sure about the sales pitch. And I told her, go into a Barnes & Noble and go into that children's section that relates to the subject matter she's writing for and just view what's there. Look at the covers, look at the spines, look at the pricing, look at the sales pitches. Read a whole bunch of them to get a sense of how they are approaching that audience, okay? Then approach the audience in the same context, but write it for your book, okay? That's the difference, right? For who you are, for what your book is, but towards that audience, okay? That's part of the research. That's part of developing who you are and what you're writing about, okay? So let's go on to step 3, because I don't have a lot of time on here. Step 3 is understand your audience's biggest challenge, okay? Number 1, you will need to clarify who your target audience is first. Number 2, when you must uncover what your readers want, then you must consistently create content that addresses them and their desires, okay? So again, who are you writing for? What genre are you writing for? And look at that. Okay, what is it the readers are wanting, okay? Look at some of the different Facebook pages or groups that are out there that are specific to that genre. Read the comments, read the articles, read the statements, look at other types of groups that might be out there on Reddit or other things, and see what is it that they may be saying they're looking for in that genre. Are they being satisfied? Are they getting what they want? If not, then how can you approach your work that will satisfy that desire? Okay. Now we know the number one desire is the fact that they want to read great books. That's number one. So you've got to make sure your book is great. Okay, the best it possibly can be. Don't spend years on working on it and fine tuning it and stuff. That's not going to help you make it great. What's going to help you make it great is finding the great editors, making sure you have written and studied that genre well enough that you're writing into it. Romance, for example, has a certain formula that all books should be following in order to satisfy the readers. While I just test this in my own personal way, not the romance, but the fact of following the formula, it is true, it works, okay? So you need to be able to go ahead and do that process and understand who your audience is, okay? And then to make sure that through the books, you're giving them one thing, and then also the other additional information we're gonna be talking about here shortly, okay? Step 4, create content that addresses your author's or your audience's desires, okay? Now the content, of course, is that great book. That's the number one item. But you have other content you want to create for them as well, because you want to draw them into a casual conversation and get them to know who you are and have that development of connection that is so critical, okay? So this could be your social media programs or a short story or anything other than the book, okay, that you can put out there on a fairly regular basis. And when I mean regular, at least once a week. It could be you're tweeting your Instagram photos or anything of that nature that specifically relate to the book or relate to the genre, okay? For example, let's say you do a murder mystery genre. You've written the book. Now, are there things that you did not include in the book that can be used as part of your social media? Okay, you're posting, you're tweeting. In other words, in the murder mystery, did you happen to write something from the character's perspective of the murderer and how they felt about murdering that person, or about the person who was murdered? What did they go through the process of being murdered? Those are little things that are of interest to readers that draw them into wanting to know more about you and the book, because you're sharing information that's not included in that. That's behind the scenes type of information. Could any of that be used as a short story that you can put out or use in short story contests or other formats to get people interested in your writing style, into your book, etc.? Okay, so you have those two items that are out there. Okay, if you're an Instagram user, are there pictures out there that you've taken that may lead to people wanting to understand how it relates to the book? Or did you just happen to take a picture that spawns questions or comments? You could use those in social media. As a murder mystery author, I saw this picture and this imagery, and I thought this could be a good launching pad for a story or for a concept or for a character or for whatever. Or I thought this location was really eerie and mysterious, and I wanted to get your opinions about it. So those are things that you can be using to draw your readers into it and to be inspired more to learn more about you and again the book, okay? So creating content that addresses their desires, okay? They want to be drawn into that murder mystery or to that romance or to the self-help or whatever it is. Create that content. And like I said, you don't have to do it daily. Once a week is good. If you're able to do it more than that, great. There are programs out there that you can schedule your social media postings. You can spend 1 to 2 hours on a weekend, schedule it to go out throughout the week to keep them inspired, to keep them interested, so that you're not having to do it every single day. Because if you're doing it every single day, you're taking time away from writing and from other types of marketing, okay? So plan and schedule things out accordingly, okay? All right, so let's move on. In reference to number 4, desire, creating content, you want to build your audience, engage your audience, and sell to your audience, okay? And you want to do a soft sell, okay? So again, in that one context I was saying about the character, he murdered somebody and this is what he was feeling. You put that out as a social media context and get people interested in why he did that. Why was he feeling that? Why was that, what that has to do with the book. That's a soft sell, okay? A hard sell is saying, buy my book. Please buy my book. Begging of you, please, please, please buy my book. That really just doesn't work, okay? You have to do the soft sell. You have to lure them into wanting to know more so that they have enough desire to buy the book, okay? They're curious as to what all these things you've been sharing with them means and how it relates to the book. They're bought into the concept and now they want to buy into the book, okay? So BES, build your audience, engage your audience, and sell to your audience. And selling to your audience is a soft sell, okay? Step 5, building a relationship with your audience. All of these previous steps are doing just that. You're building that relationship, okay? So when you're sharing information, giving them that content, that valuable content that keeps them interested, keeps them drawn to you, that is building that relationship to your audience. And you also have to then be careful that you just don't disappear for months on end, because then you lose that audience. You're saying, well, you're not worthy of my attention, so I'm not going to pay attention to you for a while. Even if you're going through a personal situation, share that. That's part of who you are, okay? If you're going through having to deal with surgery, cancer, any of those things, let them know. They've been getting into that relationship with you, and they will understand that if you need to take some time off, this is why, and they fully get that. They understand that. I mean, I deal with that on my members and stuff. They may say, hey, I need to cancel my membership for a while because I'm going through this. I get that. I understand that. I wish them well. I'll keep them in touch with, as things progress and stuff. I won't shut them out completely. You need to do the same thing with your audience, okay? Don't shut them out completely if you're going through something personal. They'll understand if you share that information. But if you don't share that information, then they can't be invested in you anymore. They're going to disappear and they're going to go elsewhere. So you've ended up losing your sales, you lose your possibility, you lose your readership if you don't continuously keep them involved and keep that relationship going, okay? The fastest way to make more money is to talk more to targeted people, okay? And that's the readership that you're developing, okay? And that includes when you're at book festivals or other events and stuff. As you're learning who your audience is and developing them and getting them to sign their email list and listening to you on social media, all of that stuff is what creates that targeted market that you're going after and develops those sales throughout your lifetime, not just one time, but throughout your lifetime. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Number 6. Where do we go? All the way down here. Embrace multiple income streams and make money from the 90% who say no. Okay. So that's a little tough to do. How can you make money from people who've told you no? Okay. So they don't want your book at the moment, but they're still engaged in you. They still happen to remain on your email list and stuff like that. So maybe they may not want the book at the moment. Let's use a children's author because this is really easy to explain and to utilize. So a children's author has created a children's book. They may have characters, whether they be people, animals, different types of objects and things of that nature. Those are things that are created that you can then use as toys, as games, as other related material, okay? Coloring sheets, coloring books, all those things depending on if you're doing a series or not, okay? Look at different ways of using what you've created and how can you create then an additional revenue stream, okay? Some people like to go, have written several books and now they want to become a writer, inspired person, okay? Or help authors develop their characters, develop their stories and stuff like that. That's happening more and more. Matter of fact, we're seeing more and more indie publishers being created from authors who think they've got everything nailed down and now want to help other authors when in reality they don't have everything nailed down and help hurting them in the long run. So while that's an additional revenue income, you have to make sure you're prepared to go that route and you do fully understand what is going on. I made that mistake when I first started this organization back in 2011. I started because I didn't understand marketing for authors, and I knew there were people like me, but instead of fully understanding the marketing, I started the organization and started bringing people in, and unfortunately, those people got hurt in the beginning because I wasn't able to fully develop and give them exactly everything they needed to succeed. It took a couple of years, but I'm there at that point, and with all the changing that's going on in the publishing world, I'm able to keep up to date and to help fine-tune and develop things accordingly so that people can continue to grow with me and not be burnt out with me or frustrated with me in the beginning. Okay, this does not include those people who just want to sit on their ass. So if you only have one revenue stream, it's going to be difficult to create financial freedom. And this relates to your books too, okay? If you're a mystery writer, again, I'm teasing them today, I don't know why, but if you're mystery or romance or anything, yeah, you've created the one book, but that's not enough. If you only count on that one book to be successful and to make you a millionaire, it's not going to happen, especially in this market because there are so many books. There's over 1 million books a year being published. So you've got to create additional material, but you have to plan it out, okay? Don't write your first book and put it out there to be published and then immediately write book 2, 3, 4, 5 all within one first year and send them out there. That's not the way to do it. You have to plan it out. You have to spread it out. You have to set it so that your marketing is being developed so that as you get book 1 done and you've marketed it properly for 6 months to a year, you're ready with book 2 coming, getting ready to come out. And so all that hard work from book 1 is now easier for book 2, and you've already started developing your readership. And so now book 2 has a built-in following if book 1 was good, so that they're interested in book 2. Now you can market book 2 for a year, 6 months to a year, and develop it so that you have more readers, and therefore you have better success with book 3, book 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you've marked it out. You've planned it out. I've said this many times before in the various shows. You have to spend time. The one thing the published authors or traditional publishing houses have shown us is the 2-year plan. It works beautifully for a reason. They get that marketing out there that gives it time for the author to write the next book, gives them time to edit, proof, get it all set up so that the marketing's ready to go when it is released. And the same thing again for the next year. They're out there promoting it, sending it, book in year 3, book in year 4, and book 2, or actually book 3 is getting written, and it's getting all set up for publishing and stuff like that. So 1 year, you're planning on your marketing and you're writing. The second year, you're setting up your marketing for the next release, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you've written historical books, okay, what additional items can you do for that, okay, as a revenue? Speaking engagements, self-help books, speaking engagements, all of those things are additional revenue. Some books are written specifically because the person's doing speaking engagements like the show is limited, and therefore the book gives more information so they can go out there and sell it. Unlike the authors, my 17-page white paper is for free. All you have to do is sign up for it. But it's revenue income because in the long run, when people want to learn more, they'll come to me and want to attend a session or invite me to speak to a writer's group or any of that type of stuff so that that becomes my additional revenue, okay? So look at those different types of things. Yes, you can give some stuff away for free at the beginning, but value your time, value your worth, and make sure you don't give away everything for free, okay? Because that's not revenue. That's just giving things away. So value time and how you approach that additional revenue, okay? Finally, the last thing. I'm going to make this short and sweet because we are about out of time. This is real simple. It's called get off your ass. If you want to be an indie author and an entrepreneur, you have to work. That's just the reality. If you're just a self-published author and you have that type of family book that is meant for a limited audience, don't worry about it. Get it out there, publish it, do your thing, and don't worry about it. But for everybody else, it means work. You have to work. I really, really, really want to stress, you have to get off your ass and work. You cannot necessarily hire somebody. Well, you could. Let me rephrase the question. You cannot join organizations. You cannot become part of something and just sit on your ass and expect them to promote and sell and do everything necessary for you to become rich. If you want that, get a traditional publishing contract. Those are hard to do these days. unless you've got millions or hundreds of thousands of followers, chances are you're not going to get a contract. Very, very, very few get a publishing contract for first-time writers or experienced writers, and it's usually because of an agent who's really good at what they do. For anybody else, it just doesn't happen. So that means you have to work it. You have to go through the programs. You have to process everything. You have to spend the money. And again, that's part of understanding the true cost of publishing. You have to be the one who's doing everything to become successful. You cannot always count on everybody else. Now, you can hire people. You can hire a publicist. You can hire the PR firm. You can hire a marketing person. You can hire those people if you have the money to do it. They can be very valuable. They can also be a waste of money. Again, you have to work with them to get the best out of them. Because if you just count on them to do certain things, it's just not going to happen. You have to do the follow-up. You have to do the legwork to make that event, that program, that PR, that whatever it is, to be the best it can be for you and your book, for you and your brand, okay? And if you don't, and you just say, okay, I'm going to pay you $5,000 to promote me for the next 2 months, well, you've lost that $5,000. Yeah, you might get some promotion, but not as much because you're not working with them and you're not helping to develop the program that works best for you, okay? There are a lot of organizations or companies out there that are especially designed for authors, and they do know a lot, so you do want to listen to them to a point, but make sure it represents you and your brand. Make sure you have your brand in place before they do something, because if they do something and your brand is not in place, then it's not going to really tie back into you. It's going to kind of just filter out there and be lost. So make sure you've got your brand situated. Make sure you've done these first 6 steps to work it well, to make sure everything's lined up so that when it is time to hire those people, they know what your brand is. They understand how to promote you, and they then give you the most out of your buck, okay? So work your ass off, get out there, meet those people. In today's world, social media is great. It gets a lot of information. It develops a lot of characters, and it is a great way to develop those readers and stuff like that. But in the long run, you're ultimately going to have to get out there and press the flesh. You're going to have to say, hi, how are you? That is important. While these people are getting to know you, they really don't know you. They haven't met you. And when they do meet you, it makes a world of difference for them. Yeah, you may lose some people because their vision of who you are doesn't always match up. That happens all the time. But on the majority of the cases, 90% of the people are going to be more connected to you, more interested in you because they've met you. Doesn't mean you have to have dinner with them or have to sit down and have coffee with them, even though some authors enjoy that with some of the readership, and some people will pay for that too. Again, additional revenue. But meeting people at book festivals is more important than just online. It's hard to get around to a lot of places, especially since we are in a worldwide market. But being able to do that, set yourself up for those type of trips and stuff is well worth it. Spend the time to go out there and meet who your followers are, your readers are. Okay, you never know when you have that discussion with a reader that may spark a creative idea or change something that you're currently working on. So that gets them excited. It gets you excited. It helps build that audience, that relationship. Okay. So again, on the website or on the video, you've seen the code for how to get the 17-page white paper. We hope you do. There's a lot of valuable information. It's well worth signing up with us. Like I said, you're going to get that, but then you're also going to get a lot more. So always, please feel free to email me at bourgeoismedia@outlook.com. The email address has appeared on the screen, and we will be more than glad to get the answer your questions and to help you grow. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.
Authors, do you know the true cost of being published? In the Author's Revolution workbook, Alan Bougeois gives you hands-on tools to use and to understand the true cost of being published. He will also give you information about low-cost or free programs that are designed to help you market your book. Alan Bougeois has been helping hundreds of authors since 2011, educating them on how to better market and sell their books. Buy the Author's Revolution Workbook exclusively at indielector.store